But I already put in too many hours last week.
On your 20%.
Right? Yeah, my 20%. Yeah, you got it.
Have you watched any of the like reality TV shows about prepping or any of the kind of cultural narratives? Doomsday preppers, kind of
really,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't get time. I live an hour away. So my days are pretty short when I get home. Unfortunately, there are things I'm trying to learn, right? I'm trying to do my due diligence in how to grow food, how to grow my own food, become more familiar with what purifying water means, right? Purification versus pasteurization, and just understanding those things. I think just empowers me as an individual, but also as a mother, right? Okay, here's how we can drink water out of this stream. Right. Here's how we can wash our clothes, right? And I think that's important. Having a green thumb. How do we grow our own food? Because we are a just-in-time community, right? So, we have a generator at home now, and the power goes out, and it's out for like an hour, and I'm like, oh yeah, we have a generator. I forgot about that. So I get the generator, start it up, and then I'm like, well, I guess I'll plug in the lamp. and then my daughter comes out of her room and she's like, hey, can we plug in the Wi-Fi? I was like, oh, she'd be screwed if this was a catastrophic situation, right?
I think she's not alone in that.
She'd go crazy.
A lot of withdrawal going on.
Yes, I think so, right? Yes, absolutely. So it's like, what are the go-tos, right, when the power goes out? Because our phones will still work, but that's about it. So, but our Wi-Fi will work because our phone still works. So just thinking about those things in our community and family, right? Your parents, your brothers, your sisters. And I tell people, well, they make great Christmas gifts. You never know what to get somebody. Get them some emergency preparedness stuff because you can't go wrong, right? Because when they go to use it, be like, oh yeah, this is a great gift.
It's actually a really good idea.
It is. It seems to be working.
It's hard to buy for people.
Yeah, and a little tinfoil blanket that radiates 80% of your body heat's $1. $1.50. You can't go wrong. Make a little something and here you go. And then it gets them thinking, oh yeah, I'm really not prepared. I am not prepared at all. I don't have water.
It seems like the cultural norm is to not be prepared.
Well, yeah, because it's easier just to point the finger, right? Well, FEMA didn't come. They didn't save the day, right? Well, there's only so many of them. I don't know how many people FEMA has. And then there are only so many resources. I think I saw in a report one time about long-term housing, right? And they build that stuff on the fly. It's not like they have a big old yard full of long-term housing that they just roll out when there's a big disaster. No, they got to make that stuff, right? And I think they only have like 100 of them made at any given time. And people don't know that. So if you don't tell them, they don't, oh yeah, FEMA's probably got 10,000 of those things. No, they don't. They got 100. That's it, right? So it's eye-opening when you can show the lessons learned for the community, because that's not like they sit in a room and listen to lessons learned every day. It's the emergency management world that sees this stuff go across their desk to say, oh, did you know? And during the Joplin tornadoes that, they only so many first responders came back to work, or during Hurricane Katrina, only 20% of first responders came back to work. 20%. What does that tell you? People really go into the looting question, like, well, what are we going to do with Marshall's Law? And right, it's like, no, don't go there. We're just talking about taking care of yourself, right? Do you have enough food to survive? Can you stay in your home? If you have to evacuate, where are you going to go, right? Do you want to live in Old Baker Park with 3,000 other people? Or do you want to stay in your backyard, right? And so just trying to get them thinking. It's important.
During the training I attended, there was a question or maybe a conversation about different preparedness levels for different societies. So Japan is often used as a case study for kind of investing a lot in preventative infrastructure. And I think Brandon talked about just the decrease in casualties and kind of consequences because of this investment.
The steps they took.
What do you think the role or responsibility of government agencies like FEMA are in an emergency like that? Like, is there kind of, should we be investing more in these services?
Well, it depends. So in a catastrophic Cascadia event, California and Washington are farther advanced than we are in Oregon. We've left some things lie that probably should have been addressed a long time ago.
Yeah.
So our schools, our bridges, our roadways, right?
Pretty
and then our building
infrastructure.
codes. I mean, it's basic stuff, right? That we haven't been doing anything about. Now they're starting to put money towards those things, and that's huge, right? Hopefully it's not a day late and a dollar short, because that's all going to take time. And when they say 33% chance in the next 50 years, that's a third. That's huge, right? I'm just like, well, either if you're going to happen in my lifetime, do it while I'm young, right? Because I'm going to need to be able to move around, right? And work and take care of my family. But I think that the state is finally coming around and realizing that we do need to put money towards these things. And they've started coming to the local governments, the cities, the counties, to say, what are your priorities? What is it you need from us? And that's huge, right? They've admitted that, hey, yeah, some of these bridges are probably garbage and we need to be putting some money into them so that you can get food and water to your populations. And they're like, tell us the bridges that you need to stand after a Cascadia earthquake. And we were able to put forward the bridges that we need to be operable for us to move resources around the cities. And so that was a big deal. The schools, they're identified as shelters, right? So some of these high school, middle school, elementary schools are all identified as shelters, but none of them are seismically sound.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's going to pancake, across the board, they're all going to fall over. And we did that Cascadia Region 10 exercise last year, and they're like, well, and they sat us down to do what's called the ground truth. And they wanted us to be as real as possible. Tell us what shelters you're going to use based on the seismic assessments. Well, none of those are going to stand. So, we just took out all the schools. Sorry, you can't use that school. It's not viable. You can't use that recreation center. You can't, we were down to like 4 buildings.
Wow.
And for the whole city that we could use for sheltering. Yeah. That's terrible.
That is pretty terrible.
You're just like... And someone told me, I actually think I looked it up, what are we up to, 160,000 people in city limits?
Sounds about right, yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
It's bananas. Mm-hmm. And so Red Cross is working on redoing their sheltering locations, and then the state's sinking money into shelters, into the schools. So we're slowly, making some headway. Slowly. But we're getting there. I think, and then when you get to the city level, we're looking at what we're going to need, right? Aside from the bridges to get those fixed that we don't own, but that the city or the state owns, but that we had all of our bridges assessed, the ones the city owns. Okay, what are we looking at? We prioritized those. Yeah. And we also did that to our facilities. What are we doing? So there's the organizational level of preparedness. Then there's the employee level of preparedness, right? And that we're not even touching, I'm the one person in the whole organization that's touching the community preparedness. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Right? So that's huge.
With 20% of your time.
Yeah, and I feel like the bigger chunk of the triangle is the community, right? It's the community preparedness, and then you get the local government, and then you get the state, right? So but there's only one of me.
Well, and arguably, wouldn't the state and the local be in support of the community to kind of provide those resources that would allow the community to
Yeah, you would think so, yeah. So it's, I think it's going to take one big event where the community comes together, and then I think the locals would understand.
Yeah.
I think I think what we get with the volunteer groups are the Night on the White Horse people, and they're straight out of the peanut gallery, and they do what's no good and tell the state police they're not doing their job right, and then that puts a bad taste in everybody's mouth, right? And you could barely overcome that, if at all ever, right? And I try hard to break down those barriers with first responders. Yeah. We have pretty good reputation with police and fire, the CERT group, but their expectation is different than what what's set forth, right? So one of the battalion chiefs in fire is like, why aren't we using these people to go stand by down power lines instead of having fire apparatus out there? And it's like, well, they haven't had the right training and they don't have the right PPE and it's a liability for us. But they don't understand that. They're like, I don't know, I'll give them the training, I'll give them the PPE,